What's up, everyone? This is Soul, and today we're going to do a bunch of BlizzCon predictions. This is not like a leak season sort of thing. This is just more like I'm going to go through a list of some popular and maybe some obscure asks and wants and needs that are about BlizzCon and WoW. Is it really going to happen or is it not? So if you don't mind, like the video, subscribe for more stuff. We'll start with some general BlizzCon stuff, things that we might see at like opening ceremonies and such. Is there going to be a Warcraft show or an anime or a movie of some sort? And we're all just guessing here, by the way. I do have I'm doing this live. I do have my chat to give some responses. So this will be a little bit scuffed. I'm thinking no. I think that I feel like Warcraft is still at that stage where they kind of have their back to the wall, right? That was definitely kind of thing with Shadowlands. They got their back to the wall. They're trying to push back. They're trying to put out good product before they really try to celebrate and expand on the franchise. Now we have the likes of Chris Metzen, who's back, who is there to really elevate the Warcraft franchise as a whole, given his role. But I don't think we're quite here yet. Will they revive StarCraft? I'm gonna say no. I guess the big reason is because if they were, I think they would want to show it off right away. And if they were working on StarCraft or even an RTS, I think we have Warcraft 4 somewhere here on this list, we would probably have heard something about new hires or, positions that open up with regards to RTS stuff. So I don't think we're quite there yet, unless the HOTS team happens to be working on StarCraft, Warcraft 4 at the same time. Good luck to them for trying to survive. Will Phil Spencer, he's the boss of Xbox, will he take the stage? Now, for those who are not familiar, Microsoft had just concluded its buyout of Activision Blizzard just earlier this month to some fanfare. Will he show up? Now, he did show up on the Blizzard campus just the other day. Will he show up at BlizzCon? I think he'll show up at BlizzCon, but I don't think he's going to take the stage necessarily. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no to this one. For someone like him to show up and try to steal the show, I that feels like bad form. I mean, Bobby Kotick never took the stage over at BlizzCon because if nothing else, he read the room and he'd understand that, maybe I shouldn't be up on stage. And I feel like Phil Spencer would probably take that same route and not do it. We have new blood anyway. It's been a long time since 2019. Mike Morhaime was already gone. Jalen Brack is gone. A lot of the old guard, they had slipped away. So we have the likes of Holly Longdale. We have the likes of Mike Ibarra. We have John, and John Haidt, who's been there for a while, but now is in this more elevated position. They would show up for sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was where they have the media booth and they do little interviews for the BlizzCon virtual stream and all that. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't get on stage, but he did take a seat at the table, to talk really briefly, and just soak in the energy, get an idea of not just the workers and whatnot after visiting the Blizzard campus, but to get a feel of the fans who he's going to be trying to please. I'm assuming that there's going to be a Q&A. So there's kind of is there going to be a Q&A? Yes. But who's going to host it? We're probably going to find out who's going to be hosting it very shortly. That's why I wanted to put a video like this out sooner. But I can only think of two candidates so far. Only two candidates come to mind as to who's going to host it. Either Dan, Mr. GM, or Taliesin and Nevitel doing another team up. Because Taliesin and Nevitel, they did well, and they have a certain personality to them that feels a little Not everyone's a fan of them. I get that, but they do have a good personality and energy that they bring to it. Not sure how Mr. GM would do on a stage at that level, but I think he's the type, if given that opportunity, he'd be like, yup, I'd do it. So he'd be up there. You'll never see me up on that kind of stage. Way too nervous. Will there be a news about these upcoming survival game? Will it have a title? I think it'll have a title, but I think that's it. I think we'll see concepts. We might see a couple screenshots. We might see a little video that gives a little teaser as to what it is, that reveals the name of the unannounced survival game. But I think that's it. We didn't see anything on the BlizzCon map about there being playtest stations for the game, and I think it's still too soon anyway. I know they announced that they're working on something a number of years ago, but it's only been about 2 or so years, and I don't think they would have so much to show for it that they would want it testable on the floor. But it'd be nice. But I'm gonna say no to this one. Another new mobile game announcement. I'm gonna say no to this one too. I think it's totally fine if they want to make more games, but especially after Diablo Immortal, I think there's like that certain trauma that that the Blizzard team is like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do it. Maybe we should just like stick it to like online announcements, do a little blog post, not give it too much fanfare. Folks will just be really hostile at being introduced to a mobile game at what is largely like a sit down and PC kind of audience. So maybe not at BlizzCon, but I'd be looking forward to any new stuff. Or if anything, it would just be like a quick, hey, alongside with this, cool, we got a mobile game too. Cool, let's move it along. I don't think we're gonna see like a whole last panel for it. Not if, but when a legit leak will happen. That's funny because we're seeing, we've seen a certain kind of leak. I'm not going to show it here. I don't think this is an appropriate video for it. We've seen certain screenshots of what seems to be a very legitimate leak. So it didn't even take a day. Thanks, leaker people. I wanted to say that kind of the over-under for a legit leak. I'm going to say no later than Monday. This coming Monday. So the Monday before BlizzCon is when we're going to see something where we're like, yep, this is the thing. All right, no doubt. The leak that's going around right now, it's very convincing. I'm not quite 100%, but by Monday, I think we'll have something. Warcraft 4, just like I was talking about with StarCraft, unless the HOTS team is working on Warcraft 4, I don't think this is going to be happening. It would be such a huge thing, and it would be the kind of thing that you would want to announce for WoW's for Warcraft's franchise anniversary. But I don't think it would be ready. HOTS revisits. That's already happening kind of, because we've seen patches for it. We've seen a recent patch for it that was pretty big. It was big enough that they advertised it and put it out on Twitter, and the response to it was like pretty exciting. They're like, oh my god, this game is still alive. And some people were like, dude, yeah, it's still alive. We're still playing it, and it's still it's still hella good. I can't imagine like how big of an update they would need to do for Heroes of the Storm though. There's like so many different characters that have been introduced between like WoW expansions. We've had like 2 that have come and gone. There's like all the Overwatch stuff that's been happening, Diablo 4, and so on and so forth. This is one of those things that makes me wonder, okay, after the Microsoft buyout, is there going to be something, is there going to be like this renewed push for Heroes of the Storm? And I hope that they do continue working on it, but what I don't want to see is for Blizzard to try to force elevate it into something that it's not, as in a big esport kind of game. But if there is a community that grows from it, I think the WoW team should capitalize on that and be like, hey, if you guys want to do your league, we'll support you. We'll throw some money at it, for like prizes and all that stuff. Just, make it good and all that, and make it fun. And I think they should go that route and, just kind of cultivate community-based leagues and tournaments as opposed to trying to manage it themselves. D4 expansion. Yeah, I think it seems pretty certain that they're going to announce an expansion. There's been like some kind of sort of leaks that have been announced. Nothing that I want to talk about here, but it seems like there might be something going on. Will they at least talk about the next season for Diablo 4? That I'm not so sure about, because I think if they are going to talk about an expansion that kind of supersedes the season, let's not worry about the season. Let's just, let's talk about the expansion, where we're going to go. If there's going to be a new class, I have a feeling that there is going to be a new class, probably something that is Paladin-like of sorts. And then as for Overwatch, it's almost a given. And I think I didn't even mention it here. Hearthstone, that's a given as well, given that they have some presence. We're going to see, we're going to get some sort of, I think Hearthstone just had an expansion, if I recall. Like, they do so many of those things. But I'm sure they're going to announce something else anyway. But of course, Overwatch updates. As for, I don't know if they're going to announce like a really big update. Like, hey, we're going to do another big thing for PvE stuff. Not sure about that. Maybe their focus is just going to be on like tournaments and whatnot. But I'm sure they're going to talk a little something or other, but probably not anything huge. All right, we're going to move on to kind of a new section where we talk about WoW announcements at a high level, just kind of like general, non-specific information, but things that might seem exciting. Will there be a WoW expansion announcement? Yep. Player housing? No, probably not. As much as I would love to see player housing, as much as I would love to dye my hair and shave this off until the end of the year, I don't think it's going to happen. I really, really wanted to. The counter is that it's been so long. This game has been around for such a long time that for it to come in now, it's definitely one of those too little, too late sorts of things. Like if it were to come in, it'd be great. I'd play the crap out of it. I'm going to play this game until it shuts down anyway. But I just don't, my hopes are fading fast for this one. Are we going to journey west? Yep. There's so many strong hints, and the fan reaction to Avalorn has been so strong. I can't see it not happening. And it's not so much that we want it and WoW does it. It's more like WoW drops the hints. We kind of put 2 and 2 together, and we figure, okay, that's where we're gonna go. Most likely, we're gonna go to Avalorn. And if I'm wrong, I'd be pretty surprised, actually. Hardcore Burning Crusade. I can see this. I mean, it's kind of natural, right? You got Hardcore Classic. Let's see how far we can get into like Burning Crusade. Yeah. Now, I wonder, how would they do it? Would they make fresh realms? I guess they would make fresh realms, right? Make fresh realms and then start new characters, go to TBC, but not allow like the transfer of characters. Excuse me. I think that would be the way that they go for something like that. With the success of Classic as it is right now, I think doing like a limited release of the newer expansions would be good. But I think they should take a while. They should take their sweet ass time for something like this, so that people can enjoy the different eras for a while. Are we going to get a 2024 roadmap? It feels like we should. Seeing the 2023 roadmap has been one of the best things that the WoW team has done. I'm very happy that they did that. It was a great communication tool and a great kind of blueprint for speculators and basically observers of WoW to be like, okay, so here's what's coming here, so what's coming here, and we can expect this by the end of the year. And that's been a great tool. To see the WoW team fulfill on that roadmap gives them the confidence to do this again. And doing it would do us a lot of favors, because seeing a 2024 roadmap would give us a clear sign of when they expect to have the next expansion launch. Do they have the confidence to say that and to give kind of like at least kind of a vague, season 3, maybe season 4, followed by when the next expansion is, and then will they have like more bullet points there to signify that's the expansion that's going to come out not at the end of the year, but more towards like kind of like summer, late summer? Not sure, but I'm gonna say yes to this one. Are we gonna get 10.3 and season 4 info? Now, season 3, 10.2 hasn't even dropped yet, and it's not going to drop until after BlizzCon. This is more a guess than anything. Instead of following the Shadowlands formula of having like a 9.2 or 9.2.7 being the fated season, I have a feeling that 10.27 is not going to be the fated season. Maybe they will go from a season 3, have it like be a bona fide length, to a season 4. Because if they say 10.2.7 is going to be like the fated season, then we would expect the next WoW expansion to come out like in June, and that doesn't seem right. I think we need a couple more months. August might be okay, but I am confident that we are going to see a season 4 at the very least, but they'll classify it as a 10.3 to kind of make it clear that season 3, this upcoming season, is going to be the regular length that we've been seeing from seasons 1 and 2, which has been about 5-6 months or so. Are we going to see Classic Plus? Now, let me define what Classic Plus, here's my definition of Classic Plus. Classic Plus is no new level cap. It's still level 60, but they still managed to create new raids and dungeons that happen to be harder. Maybe they'll have an elevated item level of sorts, Maybe they won't. It'll just be maybe more challenging for players. But basically, new content, new story, new areas to explore, new somethings to explore in small ways. I don't think so. And it's mostly because I prefer it to not be a thing. I would hate to see a scenario where someone like me, who's like a 20-year veteran of the game, who is not interested in Classic, to be told, hey guys, there's new content in Classic Plus that you won't find anywhere else. As in, you won't find it in Dragonflight, you won't find it in 11.0. I would feel not betrayed. That's a bit dramatic of a word, but I'd be pretty butthurt. There we go. That's a nice mature way to say it. I'd be pretty butthurt over the idea of being told, oh, I have to play this other version of the game in order to experience things that I haven't seen before. So part of me thinks if they do go through with something like this, maybe there should be like content that is developed concurrently. Like if we're going to see it in Classic, we're going to see it in the modern game as well. But I don't think that would work out so great either, because developing new things, new content, new story in Classic Plus is tantamount to doubling the WoW team. And that doesn't sit too right with me. I mean, if they can afford it, hey, why not? Give me that Microsoft money, yo. And cool, I'd be all for it. But I think everyone should be able to enjoy the WoW story together for the most part. No one should feel like, oh, we're being left out because of the thing. Now it's different. If Classic players want to play Classic, it's because they want to play Classic. But it shouldn't be the other way around. Is WoW going to be on Game Pass? I don't think we're going to know this at BlizzCon. The Microsoft, the Xbox team, Phil Spencer, they've been very explicit about saying, no, we are not going to, not no to WoW on Game Pass, but we're not going to announce anything until 2024. But as for WoW on Game Pass in general, I'm going to say yes. And I'm not going to get into the details of it. I know I've gone over that in other videos, but I do believe that there are tasteful ways, non-predatory ways, which I know, the cynics out there, they don't believe that's even possible. But I believe that there are non-predatory ways to put WoW on Game Pass that still make it feel like WoW's going to be a perfectly fine experience for people who don't or who are not interested in it. But for people who happen to have Game Pass, that they feel like they get a benefit as someone who subscribes to both WoW and Game Pass. There'll be a cool perk to it, but not too much beyond that. Is there going to be a world revamp? It's kind of 50-50 on this one, huh? It's a lot of it is like, okay, people want it and people don't, and people care for it or not. I guess I should define the world revamp. Are they going to like redo the planet, redo all the zones? No. Are they going to up-res the planet? I could see that. I could see like a very cosmetic change where otherwise, if I happen to be blindfolded or whatever, I'd still be able to navigate the world the exact same way. It'll still look the same. I would love to see like parts of the Cataclysm, parts of the old zones with the weird separations. I'd like to see those kind of be cleaned up. Maybe, I don't know if I'm remembering this right anymore. If you want to go from Mulgore to Desolace on foot, that's kind of a roundabout way. I'm just using that as an example. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But that's how zones were constructed. I think it'd be pretty cool if the world revamp kind of lowered those barriers in such a way that it made traveling from one zone to the next feel more natural. Because I think we're kind of there, right? Between level scaling, world scaling, and all that stuff, dragon riding, I feel like there could be a natural way for players to, traverse from one spot to another in a more clean way. But it's not exactly a world revamp. It's just kind of like the lowering of fences and walls that, where they make less sense. All right. But that's as far as I would want to go with kind of reconstructing the world. But we've seen other things like high-res assets, other weird things that make us think parts of the world are going to be updated. Whether it actually means that, though, or if it's just going to be, hey, these are just new assets that we're going to see in the new continents, I don't know. An account-wide feature and system. Are we going to see this? Now, this is big. This is more than just, hey, are we going to get our reps to be account wide? To me, that's small potatoes. I'm talking about a system where you get onto a character, you get them to max level, you start doing stuff, you start, you know, repping up, you start getting gear, you start doing zone content and things like that. And all that's tracked on like some special UI that's not unlike the reputation tab, but it's just more extensive. That does a much better and that does a much more robust job of tracking things that you've done that your alts no longer need to like worry about. Like it'd be cool if, I guess another example would be like, imagine if instead of going to the chest, you know, like the trading post chest to get your currency, that you can just open up this account wide UI, click on the thing, and immediately get your tender if you wanted to. So something that just tracks all those things, and then you switch from one character to the next, you know, all those things are tracked. I have a feeling that we're going to be getting there. I think this is going to happen. But I also think that the response to it, just like everything else, is going to be mixed, because we're going to, you know, we're approaching this point, and we're seeing certain things in WoW that have been testing the waters on this, where the activities that we do on one character, yeah, it's going to be account wide, but it means that we're not going to be doing those activities again on other characters because it's tracked account wide. So like, for example, Blingtron, you can only do a Blingtron quest where you get a reward from them. You can only do that once on the entire account. Things like the the Headless Horseman key that unlocks Scarlet Monastery, cool, you only need to unlock it once. It's shared on the entire account. Time Rifts, there's a weekly quest that we had in 10.1.5. You only had to do that once, and you know, you only have to do it once in the account, and the reputation was shared. It was kind of a weird way to do it, but my hopes are that the reputation will just go on to like this shared reputation tab. So I think it's coming. Borrowed Power returns. I'm gonna give a small yes to this one. I don't want to see something like Legion artifacts, BFA artifacts, that sort of thing. I don't want to see a really heavy system that is that the entire game is kind of wrapped around. I wasn't so opposed to the likes of soul binds, you know, where you swap stuff out, swap out powers, things like that. And there were small power ups to it with like conduits. Never mind the conduits though, because that was kind of like doo-doo. But I wouldn't mind something that just kind of makes it feel like there's a little something that players can do when they're not raiding PvP, when they're not doing their end game, their big three content. Just like a modicum of prep, but nothing nearly like what we've seen in more recent expansions. It's hard to express this thought because I'm kind of like doing this. I'm kind of doing this live. But I guess one thing that comes to mind is like zone buffs. If there's like cool zone buffs that we can work on that make us feel a little bit more powerful, to the point where someone who works the zone content feels like they got like mythic gear and full set bonuses and all that stuff. They're going Dynasty Warriors on mobs and just mowing things down. But then they move on to the new zone and like, okay, now they got to kind of do that again. That, you know, that little bit of friction, I don't think I would mind that so much. But like I said, I want to put the brakes on the idea of there being like this Torghast thing to work on and like all these chores and stuff. Like, I don't want it to be nearly at that level. Like personally, it just didn't really fly with me so hard. I enjoy being able to finish or being able to quickly get into endgame with my character in Dragonflight. And I think that's something that a lot of folks appreciate as well. But it feels like there's a little bit missing that some folks could use. And so I think the WoW team ought to be doing a lot of listening to figure out how to make something like this work. A new support spec. And by this, I mean like adding a specialization. So I have a feeling that, well, I guess to me, the class that really needs another spec would be Druids. They need 5 to just kind of round it out and really smear their superiority on demon hunters. It's like the whole Malfurion versus Illidan thing, where Malfurion gets all the cool stuff, he gets the girl and all that, and then Illidan just gets his eyes taken away and he gets yeeted off into space. I can see a new support spec coming, but like, it's just the question of like, to whom does it go to? Are Paladins going to get a support spec? Are Demon Hunters going to get a legit support spec? Yes, I will support you with the power of destructive fire. But I don't know either, because a lot of folks have had very mixed reactions to augmentation. I think I think there will not be a new support spec. But will there be new specializations? Demon Hunters are like, please, please please let there be new specializations and let it be us. I'm going to say yes. I feel like Demon Hunters have been so screwed that it's just time. It's just pure. It's like player housing. Like, come on, dude. We need to have it. Gotta have it. I mean, how would it work? Would they use different weapon types and all that? Maybe. But to see like some sort of like caster Demon Hunter spec, that'd be kind of neat. Are we gonna get a new class? Nah. Not to say that we've capped on classes, but if we are, I don't know. Part of me thinks that it's not necessary. I think there should be more focus on specializations, current classes, making them feel cooler. And we've seen that the WoW team has like the balls to, one, add a new class and add a whole new specialization in the middle of a freaking expansion. These days, I don't feel like we need to go the route of new classes. A new old playable race that's neutral. I was very specific. I think I was a bit too specific on this. Specifically, I think that the race is going to be something that we're already familiar with. So, for example, like Tuskar, Vrykul, Murlocs, whatever. But not something that's like native to wherever it is that we're going. Personally, I just like that. I prefer like more familiarity these days. We've spent so much time in the Shadowlands and all these random things, and then we spend time on the Dragon Isles and these other things that are, a little bit more familiar, but not quite so. I feel like I want to get something that's kind of a throwback. Cross-faction updates. Yes, I think we're gonna get to the next. We might get an announcement for cross-faction updates for 10.5. I'm sorry, 10.2.5, 10.2.7, where hopefully we'll be able to queue up for content. We can choose to queue up cross-faction, that sort of thing, because that was a big sticking point when we first learned about the cross-faction, is that, it's starting, but they're not going all the way yet because of technical issues and because of, I guess, kind of cultural issues. But I think we're just about there. I think folks are just kind of used to it at this point and are valuing being able to queue up with their friends and party up with them. Paladins for All. Is that going to be a thing now in Dragonflight very soon? Or is it going to be something that we can expect on 11.0? We're definitely, we've been on the trajectory of being able to let every class or every race become every class eventually. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when and how. And I think Paladins or Shaman, I guess Shaman should have been here too, they're the ones that are fighting to be next in line, I think. I know that there's a lot of new stuff that's coming for Druids, but I've at least convinced myself that while there's some cool appearances that are coming for Druids, I don't think it does enough to set the stage for anybody to become a Druid. It's like, oh, okay, Amir Jasil, you're also opening up a Druid school? That's neat. So I'm not entirely convinced of that. I would want to see when the time comes and they want to do race class combos for Druids. I want to see a cool racial, a race-based form for every race. I want mechanomes to have to when they go into Guardian form, they turn into freaking tanks, like literal tanks. That'd be amazing. And their head pops up in the top. They're like, yeah, ha! And they shoot lasers and stuff. That'd be amazing. But like I said, like a unique form for each of the races, which is like a tremendous job. Obviously, there's way too many races, and they keep adding freaking more. Paladins don't need that kind of work. Just like Druids, there just needs to be a sufficient story that makes that happen, and that's it. That's all we need. That's all we need to go. So this is a definite yes, but it's a matter of when. Finish heritage stuff for Troll, Draenei, and Pandoran. 10.2.5 and 10.2.7, that's going to be a thing. And in the previous 0.5 patches, like we saw it with 10.05, we've seen it with 10.1.5, we saw heritage. Someone's going to get hit. Someone's going to get taken care of in 10.2.5. That's my prediction, just based on patterns. That's all. Someone's going to get left out, which is probably going to be the Pandaran. Sorry, guys. But Troll, Draenei, Horde, Alliance, that part makes sense. Pandaran, less so. So if anything, 10.2 could be either Troll and Draenei or Pandarin. So one of these two groups is going to get screwed over. Profession revamp mostly stays. I think it's mostly going to stay as is. I wouldn't be surprised if like ranks had changed, like ingredient ranks. That won't surprise me. And or they just increased the reagent tab by like a lot. One thing that I didn't mention here is, are they going to do something about bank stores, like account-wide banks or account-wide reagent banks, things like that? I'm a big supporter of that sort of thing, as long as all the technicalities can be overcome. And I think that would do a lot for inventory management from people that just have a really hard time with it. Of course, people who happen to play all the professions, they're still going to be screwed anyway. That's just way too much to handle for people who run that many alts. But I think largely the whole thing with ranks, I feel like that's worked out. I also feel like it depends on your server, and I think that is something that needs to be addressed. The fact that while some parts of the economy are considered region-wide, other parts are not. And something's got to be done about that to make it feel like, okay, on my small server, I can still thrive. Because right now I can't, because there's no one here to like buy my stuff. So I think one, it's not the silver bullet, but I think one good direction to go would be something like a limited number of cross-faction, being able to do work orders across the whole region. If they did something like that, I think that would go a long way, but I would prefer to kind of limit that, to kind of curb that in such a way that you can't have just like the most popular streamer on the blog being like, hey guys, I'm doing stuff. And then they just spend the whole stream answering like, you know, queue after queue after thing from people all over their region sending their orders to them. That would be kind of odd. Dracula race class combos. I want to say yes. I feel like the trajectory is there where Dracula can become most other classes. I think that'd be awesome. You know, from, of course, warriors, rogues, mages, freaking warlocks. The only things that I think they would be limited to are the ones that aren't currently like, you know, for everyone. So shaman, paladin. I don't think Death Knights would be possible for Dractyr, because at least, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the way the story with Death Knights is that Death Knights are made as like a generational thing. So the first batch of Death Knights, those for the most part were created by the Lich King during Wrath. The latest generation of Death Knights were created by Bolvar the Lich King towards the end of Battle for Azeroth, and then that's it. No more Lich King. And then afterwards is when the Dractyr became a thing. So there would need to be like new story, I guess, introduced if there were going to be Dractyr Death Knights. And same thing goes with Demon Hunters. Demon Hunter, Dractyr, kind of odd. It already sounds kind of odd, but until there's a story that is put in place that allows for a wide variety of race class combos, it's not going to happen for Dractyr. But that's all it takes, really. Dractyr Visage forms expand. Now, a lot of folks have been clamoring for evokers to be available for all races. And that's something that I've been pushing back on because it doesn't feel necessary. Again, it would be another instance where the story has to be written to let a Tauren learn how to, you know, breathe fire out their mouths and do all that, and basically learn all these draconic powers that are natural for the Dractyr. So while I'm resistant to something like that, I'd be totally down for having a thing where Dractyr Visage forms can be like all the races. If they want to be a Dractyr Mechanome, sure, fine, go ahead, whatever. But then when they do their dragon moves, of course, then they turn into their Dractyr form. But something that I would like to see, Demon Hunters, they use Fell Devastation, and then their elf form, it temporarily changes into their demon form. They cast a spell. Once it's done, they immediately revert back into their original form. That's kind of a concept that I'd like to see happen with evokers, where they can just kind of temporarily turn into their dragon form. Once it's done, they're still in combat. They just pop back into their visage form if they wanted to do that. Now that might feel now I guess the problem that I'm coming up with as I'm talking about this is that it would feel a bit disorienting, because you would have, like, let's say a Tauren or who else is tall? A Zandalari troll. You know, they're tall, they're big. So when they turn into a Drakthir, the camera angle is going to get kind of flubbed, right? And then when their ability is done, it's going to go back again to a Tauren. Would that be okay? My first thought is no. It would be kind of disorienting for people, and so that is a technicality thing that needs to be solved, or just kind of go back to how things are currently, where if you're in combat, then you stay in your dragon form, but once you're out of combat, then you change back into your visage form. But anyway, the takeaway is I would like to see something like this. I expect something like this to happen as soon as the next expansion. It's just a matter of how they go about it is going to be the thing. The easiest one would be to just do it as a combat, non-combat thing, and then done. Now all that's left is to create all the customizations that go into that. So this one is a yes, but with little, little asterisks. Will there finally be archaeology? I'm gonna say yes to this one. I think it's been 4 years. It's been long enough. I guess the question is, how are they gonna do it? If the original plan, or if the original thought was, oh well, we want to bring back archaeology as it is, well, they should have just brought it back during Shadowlands and Dragonflight, and they didn't. I have a feeling archaeology is going to look nothing like what we've seen. It kind of wouldn't surprise me that much if they maybe didn't do anything with archaeology anymore. Maybe they will just kind of kill it and turn archaeology into like a faction, like a Dragonsail expedition sort of faction that's always there. It's always doing something that provides world quest content, side content, exploratory stuff, things like that have less to do with the actual digging of things. But I know people would be pissed off about that too. So I do kind of want to see this come back in some way, shape, or form. It's just, it's just how to do it. I can't really imagine how they would do it. Specific class and race quests. I think this is going to be a yes as a prediction, but I know that the WoW team, it's not like they play favorites, but they don't work on everyone at once. And I kind of respect that, because if they worked on every race at once, then it would be really watered down. But at the same time, only working on 1 or 2 races means you're not working on the others, and then people will just get pissed. But I do want to see more of this. This is what I think, more than most anything, Warcraft needs. It needs more. It needs more emphasis on classes and races that we're already familiar with. We've done, trans-dimensional stuff in Shadowlands. We've done, races who are not typical in Dragonflight. Dragonflight was a Drakthir story. Cool. That's great. What about the rest of us? What about the other couple dozen races? I want to see more of that. I want to see more stuff that's centered on classes again. Like those felt cool because they felt familiar, they felt personal to us, and the likes of Dragonflight and Shadowlands, I guess most notably Dragonflight, it was kind of a cold sell. Hey, here's a new class, here's a new race, here's a story about them. Do you care about it? I personally didn't play a Drakthir beyond leveling. I was like, all right, this is cool, and like that was about it. And I experienced some of what the story was through, vicariously through like YouTube channels and whatnot, but that was about it. I want to see something that is, class specific a little bit. I just hope that whatever they end up doing doesn't end up watering down the experience like Legion, where you had to like go through all 13 of these things to experience the story. I'd want to see a class specific story that's just about itself. Never mind what's going on out there with the overarching plot of 11.0, 12.0, something like that. Give me something give me something that's about the class, and I'd be cool with that.